Thank you for watching Principal Living today. We have a special guest. His name is Kerry Staples. It's a very cool person that I've been having the pleasure to work with, and actually, it's a mentor to me. And I'm very excited to get this interview, to get a couple of principles from him to learn what he has applied in his life in order to get to where he's at right now. So thank you for being here, Kerry. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me, Warner. I really appreciate you having me on here. I'm excited to be on here and share kind of my experiences in life and how it's got me to where I'm at today.
If you don't mind, if you can give us a little bit of your background or who you are and what you do, so the audience can know a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I started my career in IT. I did IT for like 20 plus years. Me and my dad started a computer company for a little while. We ran that. Then I was at IBM for the rest of my career. And then late in my career, I switched over to investing into real estate. Started with single family and then transitioned into multifamily acquisitions. And that's what I do today. Been married 10 years, and my wife and I both do this together, investing in real estate.
Awesome. So it's a teamwork.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Teamwork.
Okay. As far as how many units and how well have you expanded your business till today?
So we started roughly 5 years ago in doing multifamily investing, and we're at 40 passive investments, which is over like 7,000 doors that we're invested in, and we've syndicated ourselves 8 deals, and 2 have went full cycle.
That's awesome.
Full cycle being that they've sold.
That's awesome. So by now we can say you have pretty good experience.
Yes, definitely. I would say you always learn something on every deal, but yes, we have a very solid experience and very solid background at this point in investing in multifamily.
Awesome. Do you have a certain area or a certain place that you like to invest the most?
So I personally liked it to be closer to us. So we've invested in DFW area and Houston. That way, not too far a drive for us, and we can get there fairly quickly. Houston's a short flight or a short, 4-hour drive for us. So we try to keep it close to where we can stop by and keep on our properties a little better, and that's just been our model at this point.
Awesome. So today we're going to talk about 3 principles that you have used in your life in order to get you to where you are now.
Yeah, so I would say, one. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you have specific? No, I was just gonna say, do you have one that is like the most important one, the main? You would say like this that happens is work for me every time.
Well, I mean, the principle for me that I think is most important for anyone's life, no matter where they are, is just faith in God. I mean, without God in your life, it's very difficult to be fulfilled, to be, have a true purpose. You're going after empty shells, empty things, and without God in your life, so to me, that is the most important, is to have a higher power to be your first and focus on what you're really trying to achieve, because that's why we're all here. We're all here to serve Him and to help others while we're here.
So as far as like faith, is there an experience that made you realize that you needed faith in order to move forward and become successful as you are right now?
Yeah, I think the thing that really solidified that for me was when I went through a divorce. And in that divorce, it was a very low point in my life for me. And it was a very difficult thing to go through. And I just couldn't imagine anyone and how somebody could make it through something like that without, God in their life to help guide them back to where they need to be, and to give them confidence, and to give them encouragement, and to know that you're loved no matter what you do and what happens, that God loves you. So that was the time that really solidified for me that, hey, I need God in my life more than anything.
I've actually had a lot of people that I know that have gone through divorce, and it seems like it's a very tough thing to go through, as well as it could be a very long process. So um, I guess if I'm putting it correctly, maybe you're saying that in order for you to keep going, even in hard times like that, you have to have something to look after, and faith has helped you to kind of
Oh,
overcome
absolutely. No
that
doubt.
type
I mean,
of of, of obstacles.
yes,
Okay.
that's very well said. Exactly. I mean, in that time of my life, I mean, there was times that I was at a standstill, right? I wasn't making any progress. So, once I turned to God and started praying and spending more time with Him, it helped motivate me to go, hey, I am somebody. I can do. He has a purpose for me here, and help me stand up and get moving again to go into the directions that I went through. And then another time of my life that really was impactful is then I got laid off from IBM. But that was, after the divorce. But at that point, I had a much, much stronger relationship with God. So it wasn't near the impact on me. And it just made me go, hey, I want to now figure out how to do something different than relying on the corporate world. But it didn't have the impact on me that it would be like, oh, I'm depressed, I've lost my job. I knew God had a purpose for me, and I just needed to stay focused on what that is.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I really think people need that. I truly believe that if there's no purpose in your life, and you are not connected to God, it's very hard to keep going. And I think that people that are stuck sometimes um, get to that point because there's no goal, there's no purpose, there's nothing to follow through. In the hard times, I just see a lot of people give up and going into something, making a big deal. The way I say it is like they make a temporary, uh, a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so they think that everything is going to be done set on one single problem, when in reality it's just it will be done tomorrow, right? Like nothing is going to happen.
Yeah,
So
it'll get solved tomorrow. You just don't know it, and that's a good point too, because it's like in every decision that you make, there's always two paths, and you're making tiny decisions all day, every day that you don't even think about. But
mhm.
the example I always use is people. I could give you $1 million, and you could either say, hey, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This is going to screw me up. I don't know how to manage $1 million, and you find reasons why it's a problem. Or the other is like, oh my gosh, I have $1 million, thank you, and find a positive to it. So in everything that happens to you in your life, negative or positive, you can find a positive in it, or you can find the negative in it. It just depends on what do you want to see. And another one of my principles is I try to stay focused on the positive. Even in that divorce, when I look back, I learned a lot of lessons. I learned a lot from that. In your trials is where you learn a lot more than you do in your successes. So there's where you don't need to be running from problems, running from difficulties. Those are where you're going to learn the most. So you need to be thankful that you're going through some of this sometimes, because you are going to learn a lot from it if you are focused on it and aware of it. I mean, you can obviously not learn anything from it and just keep reproducing it, because now you're like, oh, it's all their problem. It was all this. Here's the negative of it. And you're not going to learn anything if you have that attitude about it.
Yeah, I not too long ago we actually had an experience, especially with this coronavirus going on, and everybody staying at home. I actually my wife was we were at the house, and we got to a point that she was kind of like I could see that she was down a little bit, and it kind of made me think like what was going on. And for me, I got to that point to actually understand that when you have too much time in your hands, you come into what I think it's a circle. Like you go through one problem and you just revolve and revolve, and you always get the worst case scenario in your mind, and it paralyzes you. Like you just pretty much stay stuck. So one thing that you said, like being positive and keep your mind in a positive like positive attitude, it's a good thing to have to keep you going. Because otherwise, just like you said, I really believe that you just go into a circle and it's all bad thoughts coming into your mind, and you can't get out of it.
Yep.
So keeping yourself positive is actually something that I try to do myself.
Yeah, that's great. And the old saying is the idle time is the devil's time. So when you're sitting around, the negative thoughts just creep in and get in and start to get at you. So another thing is, do what you can, even in this COVID environment here, to stay active. Exercise, get out, do some stuff. Don't just sit around, because it will. It will create depression. It's just the human nature. Your mind wanders and ends up creating negative thoughts with that little voice in your head telling you something that's not true. And so yeah, you got to stay active. Sure.
In order for you to stay positive, is there something that you do that you have, like, maybe, I don't know, I don't want to call it a ritual, but something maybe that you do on a daily basis to kind of keep your mind focused and be positive on a daily basis?
For me, it's just I think I just do small little prayers all throughout the day. So when something comes up that I'm feeling, I'll just say a little prayer about it. Not real quick. It's nothing it's about each individual morning. I'm just constantly trying to have conversations with God on where I'm at, and I think that keeps me positive, as well as I just feel like, well, one of it is my family is not so positive. They tend to think of a lot of negativity in my family. So I've also one of those things that says, hey, I want to make sure I don't do that. So therefore, in my life, I've just always been positive. I mean, like when everything I did, I'd always say, I'm lucky, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna win, and I would win a lot of stuff, just because in my true belief is, if you believe positive things are gonna happen. If you believe negative things, more negative things are gonna happen. So. And that's been true in my life. So for that reason, I just constantly always think, hey, it's all going to be fine. It's going to work out. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to win at whatever I'm trying to win. And then the other thing is that I also am very diligent. Don't give up. So I eventually win. So.
All right. So pretty much making sure that you, I would say, let me see how I can put it. So for you, it seems like more of a using actually what your family has gone through, maybe on a negative side, makes you see what can go on if you keep in a negative mentality. So you kind of use that to move you towards getting out of that mentality and going to a positive mentality. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay. And the thing is that, if somebody has a negative disposition about them already. I mean, the thing is that helps is just to do some small cantonations that tell you, like, hey, I am lucky. This is going to work. This is, just, and it seems simple, but if you keep telling yourself that, you're sending a different message to yourself, and eventually you will believe it, whether you don't believe it up front. And so I've in certain areas of my life, I've had to do some of that, but in general, I've just been, I guess I've had things kind of go my way. So I just constantly really believe and had a positive mindset to know that, hey, if I keep working at this and I stay focused on it, then it will happen. Because, I guess my third big principle that I believe in is, wherever I focus, that's where my energy goes. So if I stay focused on it long enough, it can happen. The one belief that I didn't believe, but I do now, is if you put your mind to it, you can do anything, right? That one I didn't always believe, but now I really do believe that if you put your mind to it and you stay focused and you're diligent and patient, it may not happen as quickly as you want, but it will happen for you if you stay at it. There's no doubt. And so I truly believe you can do anything you put your mind to.
So just one quick thing before we jump on the third one, I wanted to add this, and I just wanted to get your perspective on this. So going based on like positive mentality, when I did a little bit of research, they said that between the age, pretty much since you were born to the age of 8 to 10 years old, you get all your pretty much your mindset, your belief system gets kind of ingrained in you. So being coming based on for me, this is my kind of my experience. In my family, it would be a little bit of negativity, right? So around those years, around from 1 to 10, it got a little difficult because you could hear a lot of negativity. So it kind of builds up to when you are older, that it kind of is the same voice, just like you said, inside your mind, that is telling you like, oh yeah, maybe this cannot happen, or maybe I'm not worth this, right?
Sure. Yep.
So do you think that maybe that was part of what happened to you? Like, do you think around that age kind of set something up for you for the future, and was it hard for you to kind of get out of it?
Yes, I would say so. And I agree with you. I think we all have kind of a blueprint that we get kind of imprinted on us, that we apply to ourselves, that we think this is our map, and then you just kind of go through life with that. So something that helped me break out of some of my negative thoughts that I might have had around, am I good enough? Am I, strong enough? Am I, capable of doing some of these things? Was I did go to Tony Robbins, and I've been to his Date with Destiny as well as the UPD. Both of those programs I highly recommend to help, because you can rewire some of that to break through some of those things those negative thoughts you have in your head, that we all have about ourselves, how we're not maybe capable or good enough. And he can help you rewire some of that to help you have a more positive attitude, to help you move forward, to really be the person that you can truly be. So that helped me. I've been to some of his programs. I've been, like I said, to UPW a couple of times, and Date with Destiny, and both were very, very helpful in that area.
I've actually been there, UPW. Did you walk on fire? Did you do
I did walk on fire probably 3 times.
That's awesome. That's awesome. When I tried it, it could be kind of like, what's like kind of scary, saying like what's gonna happen. But once you're done, you're like, wow. Like I think it's a really good exercise to see like how fear can get to you. Yes. without you knowing, like you're paralyzed and you don't know what's gonna happen. Yep. But at the end of the day, once you do it, it's like, wow, I took so long just to do this, but it was so easy.
And that's a good point you just made there, because fear is the most limiting factor for us all, right? Fear is what stops us from doing and being and having the life that we really want, because we're like, oh, I'm comfortable, I'm fine here, and you're fearful to step out and really try to do what you truly want to do, and you got to break through that, and it's easier said than done, but you do have to break through that and not let fear hold you back.
Yeah, I mean, just to make we'll jump into your third one, to be focused and keep going. But one thing that I wanted to add, as far as like the fear factor that you just talked about, 2 things that can actually move you is either you're in the worst spot in your life and you're like, okay, I need to get out of here, or you're just in full enjoyment. So you're enjoying everything and it just keeps you moving and moving and moving. Yep. But that middle part, to be comfortable, it's really, really tough to get out of it. Yep. Because just to give you an example, and maybe this could be something like part of you, I don't know. For me, it was to get to a place where maybe you have a good job and you're making over maybe 6 figures and you're just really, really comfortable, even though you hate that place or you hate doing what you do, but the money keeps you there. So keeping yourself comfortable, it's very, very hard. Like, I think it's the hardest thing to actually to be in, the worst spot to be in. Would you agree?
No, I totally agree. And that's what got me as well. I was in a spot where that's what I was doing. I was making 6-figure income working for IBM, did not like it, wanted to leave, go do something else, but I didn't do it until I got laid off. Then I'm like, oh, now I have to do this because I had no choice. But I did go back and whatever and work for a few more years but I was started at that point to say, I need to do multifamily. I need to set myself up. I need to be prepared so that I'm not dependent on the corporate world. But to your point, it was because I was comfortable. I was making enough money. I was good. I didn't need, and that I didn't feel like to, but now it's like, oh, I was able to get out of that corporate job and I have all the freedoms, and I could now live lives on my own terms now. And I could have done that much, much sooner if I wouldn't have been fearful.
Yeah. I Out of all the people that I know, I always hear this line, like, man, once I got out of that fear level and I seen how easy it was, it just made me think, like, why didn't I do this earlier? And I hear it all the time.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
So just to jump onto the third one, you say keep yourself focused and keep going. So pretty much never give up, correct?
That's true. I would say that, and be patient. Patient is a strong one too, because um, when you're going after something and you're focused on it, it never happens as quickly as you want. And Tony talks about this too. Then you quit, or you didn't have the patience, and you kind of give up on it. And it was like, if you would have just stuck with it, that one next deal was the deal that was going to work for you. That one next interview was going to, or that next one, whatever. You were like a millisecond or a millimeter, away from getting what you want, and yet you just gave up and you didn't even know it. I mean, because I don't know if you know the story of like Disney. I forget how many banks that he went to start Disney, but it was like 80 banks or something, 100 banks. It was some large number, and he went no, and he didn't quit because he knew what he wanted, and he eventually got somebody to actually give him the loan, and look where Disney's at today. That's a perfect example of, if you know and you believe in what you're doing, stay focused, keep working hard, and keep going after it. It eventually will happen. There's somebody out there that can see your dream and work with you on it. You just gotta stay focused and keep working at it. And that's where I think you can get in life very, what you want out of life. Because not everything in life is money and fame and things, right? Life is relationships primarily. And then the other things just make things nicer. So you want to be going after something that you're passionate about, that you love to do, that you're doing it, and not like I was going to work every day and going, oh man, I'm making money, but shoot, I don't want to be here really. That's not literally living life to what you should be doing. You should be going after things that you love to do. So your work is not really work. You're playing basically all day.
That is completely true. I totally agree on that. One of the things that I can tell you as far as the relationships, I'm really grateful to have you around, like to be able to have you as a contact, even on my phone. And I truly think that is really true. I think your wealth and not just of money itself, just like you said, I think it's based on the relationships and the people you know. So it's like I said, it's really a blessing to be able to have you around it. But
yeah, appreciate it.
And to go back a little bit on that principle you were talking about, one of the stories that I know is by the Colonel, the guy from KFC. And the same thing, he was going from every bank and saying no, and now it's all over the world. Your idea can always come into fruition. The only thing is, how persistent are you to make that into a reality? So how bad do you want it, pretty much, and how consistent and how much power you're gonna give it.
Yeah,
so
and I think the root of that too is when you said how bad do you want it, it really comes down to is, what is your why? Why do you want it? And when you have a strong enough why, you will stick with it and want to go with it. For me, whenever I got laid off from IBM, at that point, I knew I didn't want to continue doing IT work because it's just a stressful job, and I knew that I was treated more like another server than I was actually an employee or a person there, right? It was like, oh, I'm just, okay, well, we don't need those servers. Well, we don't need those people, whatever, right? That's kind of the way I felt about it. So sure, I made a living from it, but it wasn't, I didn't have a passion for it anymore. When I started, I did, but at that point I didn't. So at that point, my why was like, I need to figure out something else to do so that I can have more time with my family and be financially able to pay all my bills and do that and take, trips together and things. So that's where I looked at real estate and was finding a way to do that. And it took me a little while to get there. And then eventually I joined up to a group called Brad Sumrock. We joined his group, and it took us like 18 months to find our first multifamily deal. And we were both still working our corporate jobs. And then after we got our second one, then that's when Bonnie quit. But I say that in the sense to let you know that it took us 18 months to find our first deal. And a lot of people, they get antsy and think, oh, I haven't found it yet. But, some people find it in 6 months. Those people are great, right? Some people take 2 years. But I'm just saying, if you keep at it, you will find. And I could have easily given up, before 18 months before I found that deal. But that deal has been fine. We've sold that deal, and we paid our investors 184% rate of return. So it was an amazing deal, But it's just about staying at it, staying focused, but knowing why you want. That's what's going to keep you. Because if you just say, oh, because I want, a lot of money, well, you probably are going to give up. You got to have a stronger why than that, of why you're going after whatever your dream is that you're going after, to stay focused.
It's a great return for one deal. So that's pretty awesome. As far as the why, I truly believe the same kind of correlates to the first principle you have with faith and being connected with God. So everything kind of gets together in order to have a purpose, right, in life. And do you think that, or has it happened to you that throughout life your why will change based on what's going on in your life?
I think so. I would agree with that. I think, at certain stages of where you get things, financially where you're at, your why will change slightly, once you achieve some of the goals that you're going after and your finances change. I mean, your why may change, because like now, my why now used to be, I want to get out of the corporate world so that I can have my own business and our own finances. Now it's like, okay, we have accomplished that. Now it's like, now I want to find a way to, my why is to free up the whole reason we got into this is to have more time for us to take trips and just kind of, relax a little bit and not work some more. Right now, we probably, we do work harder now than we did in the corporate world, but it is for our own business. But now my why has changed to restructure, get people, build systems, that type of thing, for us to be able to have more leisure time for ourselves. So in my case, awesome. The why has changed.
Okay. Awesome.
Or has it? If I think about it, because it's still, the why is still for I can spend more time, be with my family and everything else. It's just not changing a piece of what I need to get to the same why that I have. So my why hasn't changed that much, really, but it's just what I'm going after to get, what my why is, which is more time with my family.
I think that the why pretty much you have an image in your mind that you want to kind of achieve. So you always have that big goal, but I think it has to do with potential. And I truly believe that, just like you said, right? Like maybe, and I don't know your story, and maybe you can add a little bit onto this, but let's say on those 18 months you took to get the first deal, your potential in your mind was like, man, I don't know if I can do one deal. And then once you do that deal, I think it kind of breaks a barrier, and you're like, wait a minute, I can do this. And maybe I can do 10 deals, right? And so once your potential, you kind of reach that benchmark or that bedrock, then you're like, okay, maybe I can do better. So your why stays the same, your big goal, but your focus kind of changes a little bit.
Yeah,
exactly. Bigger picture.
Yeah.
Would you agree on that?
I totally agree. I would say it kind of goes back to when we were talking about fear, because fear is always the fear of the unknown. And when you're going after that first deal and going through and doing something, it's the unknown. So you're scared. Oh, am I doing it right? Did I do this? Am I, so you have all these fears that keep you from, once you've done one, now okay, I've been through that. I have some experience. I understand. It's not as fearful anymore because I understand it. I've done it once. So I know I can do it again. So again, to me, I think that it's fear that kind of holds you back on that. But to your point, I think also your potential gets bigger and bigger, because you do go, oh, I could do this. And it keeps growing on how big and what your potential of what you truly can do. And your confidence builds because of that as well, because you see that you did it once, you can do it again.
To put everything together, so your three principles would be to first one to keep faith. Second one was to stay positive, and third one to just keep going, keep focused, and never give up. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I'd say it's faith, stay focused on what your goals are, and then your third one is or my third one is just or I guess my second one technically was to stay positive on what you're doing, and my third one was to stay focused and not just to be due diligent. And then if you keep those three together, you really are unstoppable because you can do and accomplish anything that you want to do. It really is.
And that's at the point of your life that you are being unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, I have a very blessed life, but again, I always say it's partly my doing. I always, like to take credit of it, but I know I couldn't do it without God. God is the one that blessed me, God controls, everything that we do. So I think, without to kind of summarize it all together, what all that really does is create some purpose when what it does. And then I have just found, what the purpose is that's driving me to keep me in a positive and an area that I'm passionate about. And that's what helps keep you going. But I think another big key from all of this too is you have to have a strong why and understand what you really want out of life to be able to keep you going and keep you motivated.
What is your big picture now? So now you're at a different position. So what's the vision for you now? Is it
my vision now is to build a small little team that kind of I train up that runs things, and then I my job is just to go out and acquire assets and build a infrastructure and team around that takes care of the day-to-day operations and runs everything. That way, I'm if I could get to where I have to work 2 days a week and that's it, and the rest of the time I'm off to do what I want, that would be amazing. So that's ultimately what my big goal is right now. Because right now, we work. I mean, of course, I can set my own schedule, which still I have a lot of flexibility in that. But we do work, 5 days, sometimes 6 days a week, just running through reports and looking at stuff and looking at the property. So we're still fairly busy. And we had 2 people, but with the COVID, they kind of, because they were just work coming over here to the office. But now that that hadn't happened, they're at home, so we didn't really have it set up remote for them to really do it remote yet. But regardless, that's my goal, is to set up a big team, or not necessarily a big team, but a small team to control the assets, and we just spend time doing acquisitions.
awesome? So go more automated and kind of
Absolutely.
be able. All right. Well, that's awesome. Well, Kerry, once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us all this good information, and yeah, I mean, I think you gave a lot of good points that a lot of people will actually could relate to, and I truly believe that it will help other people. So I do thank you for being here.
I really appreciate you having me on. It was a pleasure being on here with you. I loved it. Thank you very much for inviting me on.